Hello, Facebook. We are coming to you live today from Weebly HQ in downtown San Francisco to culminate our Women's Month content. We've been sharing advice and stories and hurdles, how-tos, the highs, the lows of being a woman in a small business all throughout the month on Instagram. And today we wanted to just really have an open and honest and candid conversation about some of the things that you guys have learned throughout your journey and some advice for some of those watching. So for those of you joining us, thank you. And we also want to encourage you to join the conversation, ask some questions for our small business owners today, who I'm excited to introduce you to right now. First up, we have Teresa Chan. She started Teresa Chan Graphics, and you do amazing surface pattern design. Yes. For those people that are watching that are like, what the heck is that? Can you kind of explain to it and show us?
So the name of my business is Chan Graphics, and I'm a surface pattern designer, which means I create illustrations in the form of a repeating pattern that can go on fabrics, upholstery, wallpaper, clothing, and stationery, gift wrap, and the list goes on. Usually you're surrounded by surface pattern if you look in your home.
Yeah, we're taking a look at your website right now. You have a beautiful Weebly website, and it's sort of the landing page for where clients and potential customers come to learn more about you. But I was hoping you could maybe show us one of your favorite pattern designs.
Sure. So this is a collaboration that I'm doing with Camelot Fabrics. And what I do is design the illustration and then repeat it in Adobe Illustrator and hand it off to the manufacturer to produce the fabric.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And your start was actually in graphic design, which we're going to get back to in just a minute. But first, I want to go ahead and introduce our other Weebly small business owner. This is Candice Cox. She makes fabulous jewelry. I'm also wearing your earrings today. And she is behind CandidArtAccessories.com. Tell us about yourself and your business.
I'm originally from Oakland, California. And
there you go.
I'm sorry. Originally from Oakland, California. And for me, I started off with a corporate background, but I've always had this itch to be creative. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I started to design jewelry. And I love using different fibers, metals, chains, and various semi-precious stones to create statement jewelry pieces. So.
And you guys have kind of an interesting story because you're a graphic designer by trade, Teresa, yes. And then that sort of transitioned into what you do now. You actually taught yourself how to make jewelry on YouTube.
I did.
But you guys both have, what you guys both have in common is that you both felt that sort of creative itch. Yes. You needed to fulfill that need. Can you talk to me about just like, what was that feeling? And for those watching, how they know if they have that creative itch that they need to scratch?
Well, I started off as a graphic designer, and a lot of people think graphic design is so creative, but you're usually working within someone's brand, and it's very limited in terms of creativity. So when I had both my children, I decided to be a stay-at-home mom, and I was freelancing on the side. And during that time, I didn't feel creatively fulfilled, so I decided to take an online course in surface pattern design. And once I created my first pattern, I was like, there's no going back.
Yeah.
Right.
And how about for you, Candice?
I'm sorry.
That creative itch, that like that bit where you're just like, I need to make something.
It was literally, I was drained when I was, starting. I was in corporate America, and I was extremely tired all the time. And then I would just draw and sketch, and then I was just like, oh my God, I need to create. And once I quit my job, I felt like my mind was free to just allow myself to create. And I was having visions, I call them visions of sugar plums, of just creative designs in my head. And I was just like itching to just make something. I didn't know what. And then jewelry just ended up being my vessel to just create. And I love it. It's like such a good feeling, and it relaxes me, and it just makes me feel happier. So.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned the same thing.
It's my meditation when I'm creating. So it's also my business, but it's also, it fulfills me.
Yeah, so for those people that maybe have to work that day job. They're still paying the bills. They don't have the small business yet, but they have that itch. They should just find a little bit of time. Would that be your advice?
Yes. I kept my graphic design clients up until a point where I had at least 3 or 4 consistent clients doing surface pattern design. So I do recommend that. I do feel like if that's your passion, go for it. But having that safety net is also really important too.
Okay, awesome. And for those of you watching, feel free to jump in with your questions for Teresa and for Candice. We'd love to hear from you. And one of the things I want to talk about is for people, and women particularly, because this is National Women's History Month, which is why we're talking about women small business owners in particular. You know, only I believe it's 38% of small businesses are owned by women, even fewer by minority women. Do you guys feel like that is changing?
I definitely feel that's changing. I think it's projected in the year 2020 that 50% of Americans will be freelancing or consulting, and that's where small business is headed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just this era of just supporting small businesses, local design, and people want to have that good feeling of knowing that they made something themselves. They produced it for themselves and not for like a major company. And I think people are seeking more happiness in their lives, especially with the society and all the things going around. It's like you need some calm in your life, and I feel like being creative or just having something that you can call yours just helps balance everything that's going on in the world today. And it's the year of the woman. Like, it's just, we are just doing it. So, hey, I think it's going to be like triple the amount of women-owned businesses by 2020, to be quite honest. So
well, we certainly hope so.
Yeah.
The other thing that we heard from some of our women this month during a survey I did for Women's Month is that when women start a business, people like to call it cute. I want to cue up a quote that we got from one of our entrepreneurs, Hannah. She's from Wax and Wane. It's www.candles.com. And the quote is basically that when she started her business, friends and even family said to her, "Oh, look, that's cute. Hannah's making candles." Well, she was able to turn that candle business into such a successful small business that she quit her job in advertising. She's now doing what she loves. She's in 250 boutiques around the country. And again, yeah, she said, actually, it's a legitimate business. Why do you feel like it is that women get their businesses called cute? I mean, I can't imagine that happening to a guy.
I think I don't know, I feel like it dates back to like back in the day. Like I think about my mom's era, and a lot of times it was like, oh, it was a hobby creating versus taking it seriously as a job. It was like, unless you're getting dressed up and you're going into an office, you're just doing a hobby. And I feel like now some people still feel that way, especially like some of my older friends and some of my older like family members were like, "Oh, okay, you're just doing a little hobby and that's cute." And it was just like, no, this is a business and it pays bills. So this is like really legit. But I just feel like it's still kind of an old. I call it an old school mindset. if you will, in terms of just people didn't really take this seriously back in the day. It was just really like, let's create, let's just have a hobby, not like let's make this into a career. So.
Yes, and I feel like it doesn't fit the traditional model of success, and when people don't understand it, it's hard for them to take it seriously. Just to reiterate.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that definitely makes sense. I just think about some of our customers, you know, our male customers who have amazing businesses as well. It's like a beef jerky business or something. I can't imagine someone saying to them, oh, that's so cute. You're starting a beef jerky business. Good for you. Awesome. Well, I want to also just jump into that initial stage where you have to really conquer the self-doubt. The number one thing we hear from people, male or female, of all backgrounds, is starting your own business is scary because you have to overcome people that don't fully believe in you, like maybe a deeper layer of just calling it cute, but people that are very skeptical. So I want to actually take a listen to one of our customers, Mel Rice. She is from melriceceramica.com. She makes beautiful pottery. You should check her out. But here's what she had to say when we talked to her in December about that power of really just believing in yourself. Take a listen.
So I guess that advice would be is like, you really have to believe in yourself in such a way that it hurts. And when you are confronted with everyone that will doubt you, they will all doubt you. You have to know that you have to believe in yourself so deeply that everyone that comes at you that are knowledgeable and experienced and have certificates and God knows what education, that it doesn't matter, that your belief in yourself is going to go past their opinion or their negativity or them trying to steal from you in any way. So it's like, you really have to be ready to stand up for yourself, you know? So you have to go into it knowing that I believe in myself. I'm going to be open and adaptable when needed, and when needed, I am going to stand my ground. So I guess that advice.
I mean, I just love that quote so much. You have to believe in yourself so much. Can you guys take me back to a time when you were starting and you were worried about, what are people going to say about me on Facebook? Like, how will my friends and family feel? And you really had to just believe in yourself.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Oh. No, I definitely had to believe in myself for the simple fact that at the time when I quit my job, it was a really good job, and I had never made jewelry, and people were like, are you crazy? Like, why would you quit this wonderful job and just kind of play around when you have these other skill sets? And for me, I don't know, it was just one of those things where I was like, no, I think I'm going to be okay because I love to create and I love business, and I feel like somehow they're going to all mesh together and it's going to be one big beautiful thing. So for me, it wasn't, there was some self-doubt, but for the most part, I was just like, I'm going to do it. Like, I 100% agree with what she said. Like, you have to continue to believe in yourself or you're going to not do it. Just the bottom line. So.
Yes. So I think in the beginning, just making that decision that this is what you want to do is really important because, going into a completely new industry, it's daunting. I didn't have any business connections. I didn't know how the industry worked, what was licensing. That was never part of my graphic design world, working for a company. So there's a lot of unknowns, and that can hold you back if you're not sure about, this is what I'm in love with, and I'm either with my product or with your service.
So tips to overcome that self-doubt, it's really just to say, I'm doing this, I'm moving forward, despite what anyone thinks. Like, you just have to keep taking those steps to make it real.
Yes, and I also feel like when you have made the decision and you're making progress in terms of knowing what the next step is, things will start to unfold, and it's pretty magical how that happens because I think it does resonate with others when you do believe in your product or service.
And I was going to say, one thing that Mel talked about too is, like, you'll have these people come at you that are like really educated in this specialty and they have their degree and they have all their advice, and you feel like, oh my gosh, should I listen to this because they know better? But sometimes that doesn't mean that people know better for your small business, right?
Right. And you definitely have to dig deep and go with what you want. And for me, not knowing how to make jewelry and learning on YouTube definitely was a challenge. But you take classes. Like, I invested in myself too. You have to invest in yourself. Like, I took classes. I went to a jewelry metalsmith. Like, I was like, let me try these different materials. Let me ask people who've made jewelry. So you got to do the work. It's like going to school. You got to do your homework, and you have to invest in yourself so that you can become really good at your craft, and no one can tell you different.
But you don't have to be an expert overnight.
No,
you can teach yourself.
Yes, and you can find a lot of mentors online or people that have been in the industry for a while. Right. And for myself, I didn't want to email and ask them, a series of questions. Everyone's really busy. So I, in the beginning, asked someone in the industry, how much would it cost to consult with me over Skype for an hour? Because then that way they're more apt to share with me, and I get to ask my top 6 most important questions and have their undivided hour of time. So that helped me kind of orient myself in the industry. So just be proactive and reach out.
Yeah. So you're consulting right now for free, huh? Okay, yeah. Thanks. We say thanks. I do want to get to one of our questions. Alice J, who's watching us right now, she wants to know, you guys are both moms. All 3 of us are moms. You have a 5-month-old,
yep.
So you're in deep right now. Right. And you have
I have a 13-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter.
Okay, so they want to know, what are the biggest challenges you guys face being a mom and then also being an entrepreneur where you don't get to clock out at the end of the day?
It's a challenge. Like, for me, I'm still getting used to it, to be quite honest. It's just like a balance of sleep whenever I can get it. Yeah. But then also I do make most of my jewelry, so it's like I have to make time to make and then answer emails, and then I also hired a few people to help me with other parts of the business. So you're probably going to have to hire a few people if you can, 1 or 2. But it's really just trying to get the balance and trying not to feel guilty, because that's one thing in the beginning. I was like, I felt guilty, like I should be spending more time with her in a sense, or going outside and playing. But then it's like, okay, it'll all be for her greater good, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, and just kind of trying to stay strong with it. So it's hard. I'm not gonna lie. It is,
and it's a constant struggle to find the harmony. Balance is kind of a difficult word because, when you're working a lot, it seems like you're not present at home, or vice versa. I like to look at it more in terms of are you creatively fulfilled, and if you are, then it translates to all the other areas in your life.
Right.
Also, having a daughter, I want to just show her, like, this is saying go for your dreams is talk, but going for it is another story.
Yeah. Right. Watch mommy. Right. She's doing it. No, that's awesome. And I know that your daughter, actually, Candice, you mentioned that she kind of spawned a new idea for another product for you to make. Yeah. Tell us about it.
I'm actually in the process of designing a little girls collection, like a Mommy and Me line. I love the idea when you can kind of match with your daughter, or like I can wear really funky jewelry and do like a mini version of that. And so she's definitely inspired me to want to create and execute this Mommy and Me line, because she's so cute. And I was like, I'm dying to dress her in all the like funky jewelry that I make. So I'm like, I'm going to create something for her. So working on that now.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And one of the other things I want to talk about that people told us in our Weebly Women survey this month was the tough part about getting into defending your price point as a woman-owned business and just sticking to your guns on your brand and staying true to your authentic brand. And that means sometimes saying no to things. It means saying no to clients, which I know has happened to you. But I want to take a listen really quickly to our customers from Hinterland Empire. This is Jolene and Trinia. When I asked them a question about, tell me about a time that you've had to defend yourself for being an authentic brand, and I just absolutely loved their response. Take a listen. Can you kind of talk through actual examples of how you guys stuck to being an authentic brand?
Every time somebody says $30 is a lot for a t-shirt, it happens every day. Yeah. But $30 is a t-shirt that's made in the US out of sustainable, natural fabrics, hand printed by a woman entrepreneur. Like, it's $30 comes from somewhere, and we have to defend that all the time. And they could go to the mall and buy a $30 t-shirt and they don't know where that came from.
So yeah, it's hard to sell that to people that maybe don't care. But
I get pretty worked up about it.
I know you do. To people that maybe don't care. But I get pretty worked up about it. I know you do.
So having to defend that $30 t-shirt, but for them that was their brand of having those being sourced from the US, being organic, being natural fibers. Do you guys, did you ever feel like you had to sort of, maybe not for the manufacturing for you, but really kind of defend your product and say no to things sometimes?
Yes, definitely. You know, my business is my service, and a lot of times because I'm so emotionally tied to it, it's hard when I really want a client to not compromise on the price. And a lot of times I refer to my husband and I ask him, well, you know, I ask the question, well, what would a white male say? So I feel like they would go for what they're worth, and I should too. Why not?
So it's really keeping the emotion sort of out of it.
Right, exactly.
Interesting. And has that advice, when you've used it, has it helped you?
Well, because it resonates with me authentically, it does. I attract clients that will pay the price. Yeah.
How about for you, Candice?
I'm working on keeping the emotion because you're right. They say don't mix business. You know, this is business, not personal, but it's my business, so it is personal. And so I do find myself defending my price point sometime when I'm selling my jewelry. And for me, in the beginning, I used to give in to a certain extent and be like, oh, okay, I'll lower it. But now I'm like, no, because I know I make everything, like it's like this is all handmade. This all takes time, locally sourced and made in the U.S. These are quality materials. So you have to really start digging, like, this is why I'm charging this, and this is what I do for a living full time. And my thing was, I was like, would you go into Nordstrom's or Macy's and try to negotiate their price points, or would you just buy it, or Bloomingdale's? So I was like, I'm going to treat myself as if I'm one of those stores, and there's no negotiation. So yeah.
I think that's so interesting that you guys both decided to just sort of change your perspective headed into a negotiation. Teresa's like, what would a white male say? And you say, what would Macy's do? Right, and so I think maybe taking yourself out of it and thinking of a parallel that exists out there for whatever your product is could be a really good takeaway for folks watching.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And I want to talk about some of those successes. You guys are very successful. You've been with Weebly for 7 years. You've been with us for 11. I mean, you're
maybe
an OG.
More. I have no idea. First, it was for my freelance graphic design business, and transitioned over to my surface pattern design.
And now your patterns, I'm going to start here. You guys can find these at Home Goods, at TJ Maxx, at Mark and Graham. And people watching this might say, oh, that's impossible. I don't know how I could ever do that. Can you kind of rewind and take us through a little bit of how you sort of climbed to that place?
I really focused on my style and my art, and in the beginning when I didn't have any contacts, I focused on Instagram and posting a pattern every other day, every couple of days, and it started to gain momentum and traction, and from there a lot of people contact me through my website, and that's kind of how it all starts.
So you kind of use Instagram to drive traffic to your website to tell your bigger story.
Yes.
And that's really helped you get some inbound leads.
Definitely.
How'd you get...
I would say like 80% of my leads are from Instagram.
Nice.
You have 50,000 followers on Instagram, which is pretty legit.
Well, that's exciting, yeah.
And is there any tips of getting that with like cadence of posting or types of posting and making your brand clear on Instagram?
I have no idea how the algorithm works. Like there's a lot of components to Instagram. What I focus on is what I know, my designs, and how to cultivate that, and what style resonates, and just stay true to your art, and people will tap into that. And I feel like that's how I gain momentum. I really can't think of like posting at certain times. I've tried like a variety of different times. Like, does 6 a.m. work? Does 7 p.m. work better? You just have to kind of go with your product and your service, because then it resonates or it doesn't.
Got to find that product market fit.
And then pivot when it does or when it doesn't.
Do you guys test out ever new products on social media and see kind of what's hitting before you go and make more?
Yeah, I definitely do. My new collection now, I'm in the process of just seeing like how many people respond to the product. If I get a couple of orders, like I'm like, you can order it on Instagram now. It's not on my website. So it's kind of like getting those pre-orders just to see, if it's a hit or if it isn't a hit. And then it's great because you can ask direct feedback on Instagram too. Like, hey guys, what do you guys think of this? So I love Instagram for providing that feedback. And that way you don't have to waste your time kind of, adding it to the site and purchasing all these materials to make the product. So.
And then once you know it's a hit, you can add that to your inventory on your site, drive sales back to your website where your inventory is managed, you know how many you have left in stock, and kind of let it go on autopilot after that.
Definitely.
Awesome. I want to talk about your success. This jewelry, which you guys should check out, it's candidartaccessories.com, but not just yet. It's actually been featured in the Smithsonian.
It is. I've been in the Smithsonian for a year now. They opened, backstory. One of the things I said I wish I would have known earlier in my career was the power of a trade show. I did a trade show and just vending in general. Like, I know it's a lot of work, but a lot of makers say, well, I don't vend as much. I'm like, well, vending gives you exposure and allows people to touch your product, try on your product, and see it. And so I invested in myself. I paid for this trade show in Las Vegas, the magic show, and it was the pool show to be exact. And one of the general manager of the Smithsonian, they hadn't even opened the museum. It was like a year out. And they were like, I think your jewelry would be a great fit. And I was just like, oh, okay, that's cool, whatever. I sent in some samples, and then next thing you know, they were like, yeah, we want to carry it. And I've been there for a year, like since they've been open, and I'm so honored. That is like my top customer, and they always order from me. And it's like people around the world are wearing my jewelry because they're visiting this museum. So it's been like awesome. And of course, I've gotten other boutiques around the United States as well. But definitely, like I said, investing in yourself and taking the risk and finding out what's the best thing to do in your industry for the best exposure. And by me vending at that trade show was a major boost in my business. So I'm totally excited. And then other opportunities opened up. Now I have like a flagship location with other local designers. So that's